I love teenagers, so I take teenagers every single day of the week just because I prefer teenagers. Teenagers are great because you can sort of talk to them they're a lot easier to understand, so they can understand what you're saying, they can evaluate what you're saying, they can make decisions and choices. It's about supporting them to make the right choices and right decisions.
I tend to do the teenagers because, you know, obviously there's more of them needed carers for.
I was actually scared of babies. I'd never had any experience with young children and didn't really want to have a screaming baby in the house in the middle of the night and stuff like that. But after having a good rapport with other children I came into contact with, I really felt like we were able to support a teenager through difficult periods of their life. And that actually, with a teenager, you can sit down, you can talk things through. If you have to be firm but fair, but I think they respect that and they appreciate it.
Teenagers get a bit of a bad press. A lot of people say we don't want to take teenagers because we're going to have all these issues and stuff like that. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. Certainly isn't with ours.
We're on our 5th year of teenagers, and I'm finding every time it gets a little bit easier because you learn so much more and you learn new techniques that you can implement. And we definitely have said by the time our kids get to teenagers, it's going to be easy.
They're going to be sorted, aren't they?
Once they get, the main thing with fostering is you are a family. Doesn't matter if you're a couple or a single carer. You were, to them, you were their family. You were doing what, they can't have at that particular time. So they'll move in with you. And then all it is, it's just being yourself. You've got to get used to them. They've got to get used to you. And, it's obviously, it takes time, but it just like they can tell you, they can put the trust in you. Because they come home every night, and then you just feel like you can do for them teenagers what you've looked when they walked in your door. You think, oh no, how am I going to do this? But no, once you get to know the child and the young person, then you find ways that, they're just like any other, no different. They all deserve a chance, don't they?
After a teenager compared to perhaps younger placements that we've had, we see teenagers as part of our family because they can be there for long term, whereas younger children we've cared for are more likely to move on. So you can embrace them more within your family and your family dynamics and everything that's going on. And even when they move on, there's a good chance you'll still be in touch with them. As they grow older up and they move to their own property or home of their own.
Not just with fostering, I think it's with a lot of professions where people are blinkered into thinking that the younger children are going to be easier. Now, even as a parent, you know that a 3 or 4 year old who's having a bad day will tantrum and they will scream and they will shout and you'll not get any sense out of them at all. With a teenager, they will sulk, but they don't tend to scream and shout so much. They'll sulk. But then you can have a adult conversation the majority of the time. And that's sometimes a lot easier than having to deal with a full-on tantrum in the middle of ASDA.
Our children have become more knowledgeable about not just child care, but child well-being.
And more grateful for what they've had as well.
Yeah.
I think, definitely.
Definitely, that they've had somebody there for them all the time, whereas these children may not have had. And they've supported the children in different ways, being of more their age.
So we even had our middle child the other week saying that there was a child in school that he'd found out was fostered, and he was like, I didn't realise, but I'm not going to treat them any differently because that's just normal. So for him that wasn't anything unusual, which is lovely, and I think that they'll take on them skills later on in life and that'll do them really well as they grow into adults as well.